What's up, YouTube? This is Carrie from Side Tripping with Carrie, and man, I've got to apologize to you guys from the outset. As I usually always say, it's been a minute, which it has, but this time especially I need to apologize for the fact that I forgot to bring my God, I don't even know what you call it, the device that I carry around to prevent to kind of stabilize the video. I forget what the dang thing's called. I picked it up at a recommendation from Lamont at Large, believe it or not, and I've used it all the time, or I've used it ever since I received it. But today I came out here to visit a grave that I wanted to tell you about, and I left it at home like a dummy. So I'm doing this the old-fashioned way, so it may be a little bit jittery, so please forgive me on this one. But we are here today to visit the final resting place of Ann Mikulec. And forgive me if I've mispronounced that name. She was professionally known as a singer, kind of a big band era singer from the 40s and 50s by the name of Ann Bennett. That was her professional name. Again, she sang with some big bands in that era, kind of during World War II, post-World War II. She was a performer at Dwight D. Eisenhower's inauguration back in 1951. And so she was fairly well known, but what she is best well known for was singing the theme song to the Felix the Cat cartoons back in 1958. And Felix the Cat, there he is on my t-shirt. And so without further ado, let's go check out Miss Mikulec, or Ann Bennett's final resting place here at the National Memorial Cemetery in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, a little bit about Felix the Cat himself, if you will. Probably most of us baby boomers and the like, and whatever comes after Generation X or whatever, would know Felix the Cat primarily from the 1958 to 1960 cartoon series that ran on television. But Felix the Cat was actually over 100 years old. He was created by, more than likely, there's some controversy about who actually created Felix, between this Australian cartoonist and by the name of Pat Sullivan, or a guy that worked for him, an artist by the name of Otto. But it was probably Pat Sullivan. But as it was kind of back in the day, at a lot of places, the employees of a cartoonist would give way to the kind of owner of the cartoon itself, or the producer, as far as the creation or the copyright would go to, or I should say the trademark or ownership, if you will. And it was clear that Felix was Pat's creation, or he was the owner of Felix the Cat. He actually licensed it in the 1920s to a Chevrolet car dealer, or car dealership owner, whose last name was Felix, in Los Angeles, Felix Chevrolet. And if you're familiar with Los Angeles proper, I know it's off Figueroa, not too far from USC, the campus of USC. And if you're into the lowrider culture, a lot of you go to like some of these car shows, you'll see a lot of old Impalas and Chevys with Felix Chevrolet like license plate holders and things like that on the car. Again, Pat Sullivan created Felix the Cat in 1919. We'll just kind of solve that controversy and say it was Pat Sullivan's creation. So Pat developed a cartoon, and this is back in the silent era, and for whatever reason, Pat really didn't make the transition to sound like, say, Mickey Mouse, for example, one of Walt Disney's biggest things that he did, and the reason why Mickey Mouse kind of overtook Felix the Cat and others, if you will, was because Walt Disney was good at blending the cartoon, the animation, I should say, with sound. And for whatever reason, Pat Sullivan didn't hop on that train early. And by the time he did, it was kind of too late. In addition to that, Pat was a raging alcoholic. He died young. He was somewhat of a jerk. If you look up his Wikipedia page, it talks about how he was kind of a racist individual and would just do a lot of mean things. It's even worse than that. There's and it wasn't an allegation. He was actually convicted. He raped a 14-year-old girl at one point. So this guy was not a good dude. But you know, he did create Felix the Cat. So I guess that's I don't know, positive, if you will. So again, like I said, he died relatively young. Pat Sullivan did, in the mid-30s, and the ownership of Felix went to a nephew of his, because he died and he didn't have any children. And so Otto Mesmer continued to, I guess, was employed by the company that Pat created, and one of his animators was a guy by the name of Joe Oriolo. So eventually Mr. Oriolo licensed, or came to an agreement with Pat Sullivan's nephew to create the Felix the Cat cartoons in the late 50s. All right, and eventually, following that, he obtained ownership of Felix. He bought it out basically from Pat Sullivan's nephew, so he owned it. After Joe passed away, ownership went to his son, Don Oriolo, and in 2014, Joe Oriolo sold the rights to Felix to DreamWorks SKG Animation, and that was if you remember, DreamWorks was owned by, Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and David Geffen. Eventually, DreamWorks Animation was purchased not too long ago. I want to say 2016, by NBC Universal, which is owned by Comcast. So I guess it's Comcast NBC Universal. And getting back to Ann, in 1958, she was commissioned, or she sang the familiar Felix the Cat song, which I'm not going to attempt to do, but you all know it. I will put up a link to the song if you forgot how it went. I'm sure that when you hear it, it will stick in your head and stay there for a while. But anyway, it's iconic. Ann's rendition of it, Ann Bennett's rendition of that theme song, was truly iconic. And I remember every one of the words to that song to this day. And so she was paid, believe it or not. Now, first off, she didn't create the song. We know she didn't write it, but she sang it. And she was hired for $75 in 1958. What that wound up coming to, I put it in the inflation calculator, it comes out in 2023 dollars to about $795. So basically she got $800 to sing this song that, lasted less than a minute. Now, if she could have held on to a little piece of that, said, hey, listen, instead of paying me, give me 1% or 2% of the earnings for that song, man, she would have been in the money forever. But again, she led a very long life. She married a fellow, Frank Mikulec, in 1948. They had a happy marriage, had children, and her grandson is a underground rapper from Phoenix, Arizona, or actually from Glendale, Arizona, which is a suburb. He goes by the name of Bag of Tricks Rapper. Bag of Tricks Rapper. So he actually has a website. He sells merchandise. His music is actually pretty good. You guys should really check him out. But I'm also going to put up a link if I can find it, to this New Times article that I read about him and his grandmother. And he credits his grandmother kind of singing phonetically the alphabet to him and teaching him how to read when he was a little boy, and kind of fostering that love of music. And before she passed, she told him a lot about the business of, you know, the recording industry and how tricky that can be, which it is. And but anyway, I encourage you guys to check him out. He, like I said, he's actually quite talented. But without any further ado, let's go check out Ann's final resting place here. So as you can see, she's laid to rest here with her husband of 54 years, Frank Mikulec. And there's Ann Mikulec's final resting place. Born on March 6, 1927, passed away November 7, 2013. Two hearts rejoined. And again, she was loved by her family. You could tell that very much just by the tributes that you find on Legacy, which are still up, and through her grandson too. He spoke very, very, very highly of his grandmother. What a sweet woman she was. So again, I apologize for the non-stabilization of today's video, but if you like the video, please give it a like. Please leave a comment. If you are a fan of the Felix the Cat cartoon show, you know, who was your favorite character? I'd probably say mine was, other than Felix, was Vavoom, who was like well, back in the day, you would say he was an Eskimo kid, but proper term is Inuit now. And so he was this Inuit kid who, I think the only thing he could say is Vavoom or Vavoom, and it was super loud and it would like shatter things. But I thought it was pretty funny when I was a kid. So yeah, let me know who your favorite Felix the Cat character was, whether it be Felix or somebody else. Poindexter, the Professor, Rock Bottom. So if you like the channel, please consider subscribing. And again, we will see you on the next one. Take it easy.